sure you've seen this. If you haven't, I'm gonna break the news to you, but there's arsenic, lead, and 14 other toxic metals that were found in top selling tampons. And it even says here that metals were detected in both organic and non-organic tampons, with lead concentrations being higher in non-organic products and arsenic higher in organic ones. What do we do? 95% of the time I'm using pads just because tampons used to give me the worst cramps and just make me feel horrible, and ever since switching to pads I've noticed a big change in just my menstrual cycle. But now I'm skeptical. Now I'm like, I'm sure a lot of the same chemicals that are in our tampons, in organic tampons, are also in our organic pads. So if there's any brands out here, organic brands, and you want to comment and share with me that you've tested your product and there's no heavy metals in your product, I want to support you. I want the girlies to support you. And I'm just trying to find good quality pads and tampons women can use, because I swear it's causing so many issues. Like, why do so many women have PCOS, infertility issues, period issues, cysts, endometriosis? Like, the list can go on. This is not normal. We're gonna tell me to use the Diva Cup. Sorry, I'm not gonna use it. It's not for me. I use period underwear. That's really great, but I definitely don't use that on like the first 2 days. I'll use that more so towards the end, and I found that to be helpful. Majority of women use tampons and pads. So where are the brands that are making good quality products?
This is literally so sick. If you think just because you're not using tampons, you're in the clear for toxic chemicals and you're gonna be fine. I was in the same boat. I was using these pads. By the way, in my tampon video, I wasn't showing the brands. I'm gonna start showing the brands now because I literally don't care. These things are laced with toxic chemicals. Independent product research showed that there are countless undisclosed chemicals and carcinogen in our pads. I have to read it because it's just literally so scary. Some of the chemicals of concern that were detected include styrene, which is a human carcinogen, chloromethane, which is a reproductive toxin, ew, chlorothene, which is a carcinogen, chloroform, which is not only a carcinogen but also a reproductive toxin, and also acetone, which is an irritant. If you're like, acetone, that's nail polish remover. Yes, it is. And some of the other uses of these chemicals include manufacturing of car tires and making styrofoam, as well as petroleum refining. When I was reading that, I was like, how can that possibly be true? It turns out pads are considered a medical device, so none of their ingredients or anything used to make them actually have to be disclosed by the companies at all. A lot of them will say, oh, made without fragrance, as if that's some big deal. All the testing that was done with those chemicals are on fragrance-free pads. So as much as we want to believe that using pads is so much healthier than tampons, it's actually not, because that part of our body is so absorbent. In fact, people who use those pads, myself included, report having a lot more cramps, bloating, longer periods. When I switched over to these, if you guys have been following along, I just got these at Whole Foods before my last period, and I told you I would let you know how they went. Everything changed. My period went from 5+ days to 3 days. I only got cramping on the first day instead of the whole entire time. I didn't even bleed that much, which was amazing. And I didn't have any bloating. This is Natural Care, 100% organic, cotton pads. I'm telling you, I will never go back. I'm gonna make it my mission to test every single one of these healthy and organic pads. I just need to know. I find it frustrating though. I mean, these pads in general are much harder to find. They're much more expensive. Why is it that we have to go so far out of our way to find products that are healthy for us? And how can these brands keep getting away with it? It just makes no sense. Anyway, in my next video, I'm gonna be doing that lighting on fire experiment, same like I did with the tampons, where I light one of these on fire and see if it catches. I really hope this video was helpful. Share it with your bestie, anyone who could use this information. Let me know if you have any questions, and follow from where.
I'm not depressed, I'm poisoned. I'm not anxious, I'm poisoned. I don't have ADHD, I have lead poisoning. I feel sick all the time. I have tummy ache all the time. Duh! The other day my husband said, there's something always wrong with you. Poison.
My last hygiene video was well appreciated, and I want to extend on this topic on one of my favorite hygiene practices that I'm trying to perfect, and I highly suggest you do too, which is looking at labels and knowing what I'm putting on my face and body. This can take a lot of effort, and it honestly pisses me the hell off, because why the f are there products on a shelf that are hurting us long term in the first place? But there are. And if you really think about it, in this patriarchal society where things were curated and centered around men, can you be surprised that they're slowly poisoning us? This is the same society where for some reason we had to fight to have the same rights as men, where we weren't even allowed to have ownership of things we need to function without a man, forcing a lot of women to have no choice but marriage. This is the same society where predominant religions teach us to be submissive to men, to let men lead, and that we should worship a male god when most men don't have any clear direction or control of their. And this is the same society that told us back in the day to put Lysol in our coochies to keep it fresh for a man. Yeah, you heard me correctly. Lysol up our coochies.
Lysol was once used for cleaning toilets, cleaning surfaces, and cleaning cooters. Yes, Lysol was marketed for feminine hygiene and/or/odor, which, according to some historians, was a wink wink nudge nudge for contraception. AKA, you would use it to clean out your post-coitus. So did it actually work? No! A 1933 study saw half of the women who used Lysol after having sex pregnant. Also, imagine other ladies seeing you buy it. Well, just the other day, I saw Ethel buying Lysol. Think it was for her toilet or for her vagina? And yes, women who used it had inflammation, burning, and pain. This crotch is on fire! And of course, many deaths and even more poisonings. And you're probably going to want to screen grab some of these images behind me because the copy is absolutely bonkers. If your cooter wasn't clean, your husband may lose interest. Some of them thank Lysol for saving their marriage, and they say they prefer Lysol over salt or soda. Owie! Nothing like a powerful cleaner to help you maintain that dainty, feminine allure. Look at this woman. She was guilty of the one neglect that mars marriages. Don't worry, Lysol helped restore her power to please. And yes, some did try to sue, but imagine in that time period, that would have just been societally ruinous for a woman to come out and say, "Oops, I burnt myself down there." But there was one woman who did, and Lysol said, maybe she's just allergic to it. Thankfully, birth control was declared legal for married women in the 60s and 72 legal for single women, and women stopped putting Lysol up their vagine. But the moral of this story is women have always been shamed into buying products to improve their lady parts.
So my grandma just gave me a whole ass history lesson, and I gotta tell y'all about it. Please listen. So my grandma, I'm on the phone with her, and she's telling me about her friend that she's been friends with since she was in like middle school. And she's like, she's having some health issues, whatnot. And my grandma's like, I don't know why she's having the health issues, but I feel like it has something to do with the fact that when we were little, she used to spray Lysol on her panties. I was like, Grandma, is that like a figure of speech? Why would somebody spray Lysol in their panties? And she was like, well, a lot of people did back in the day. And I'm like, why? And my grandma was like, well, when Lysol first came out, they marketed it as a feminine hygiene product. And I was like, Grandma, ain't no way. Like, you know, Lysol, you use that to clean the counters or mop the floor, but no way people were spraying that in their panties. So I Googled it after I got off the phone with her, and my grandma was right. Lysol was a feminine hygiene product. And then they realized it wasn't good for you. And they were like, all right, put it on your counters. And America just said, okay, sure. Y'all need to start talking to your grandparents, okay? They teach you about history.
So what the hell do we use for a cooter? I know damn well I'm not using any of these brands anymore. Yeah, sure, everything to an extent has toxic chemicals, but if you have the power to limit some of those things, it's best to do that for the sake of your health long term. Now let's see what the ladies are recommending for alternatives.
I'm a toxicologist, and here's why you should care about the period products that you're using. Part 1. Let's talk about pads. The skin on the outside of the vagina or the vulva absorbs more chemicals compared to regular skin because of its unique structure. Toxic chemicals that can be found in your menstrual products, heavy metal, carcinogens like dioxin and 1,4-dioxane, volatile organic compounds such as benzene, pesticides like glyphosate, chlorine bleach, and endocrine disruptors such as phthalates and parabens. Even organic pads still release benzene. Check the ingredients list on pads and panty liners. Unscented organic cotton is a slightly better option compared to conventional, but it's not without its own risks. Plus, it's not sustainable and results in a lot of waste. Look for a more sustainable option like reusable organic cotton pad, or look for non-PFAS treated period underwear.
Let's play which period products are not going to kill me. Part 1. NaturCare. Let's go. They have already answered the Berkeley study. We think it's great that this test was performed because as a precautionary principle and as part of NaturCare's annual organic certification audit, tests for detecting heavy metals as well as PFAS are commissioned to a third-party accredited laboratory. These test results of our GOTS certified organic cotton tampons showed no detectable traces of heavy metals or other chemicals of concern and are publicly available to offer peace of mind and full transparency. By the way, GOTS is Global Organic Textile Standard. They're not relying on the FDA's authority, and they are holding themselves to this higher standard that they are not required to by the US. One of my biggest priorities is it owned by a mega corporation or is it family or founder owned? And the founder, Susie, 1989, she has been preaching plastic-free periods, and that is when she launches NatraCare. And it remains founder owned and has not been bought out. Almost unheard of in this day and age. And she started it to be an ethical company. She started it to be kinder to women's health and to be kinder to the planet. This is Susie. She's the founder and owner. She's an eco-warrior, a pioneer, and developed the world's first brand of organic and natural period products in 1989. I had not heard of this brand. I am shocked because all of the things that I hear now and that I've looked up are so amazing. This is what she says. In the 1980s, I learned about the dangers of dioxin pollution and the damaging impact of plastics. I was appalled to find my period products contained all of these ingredients. Me too, Susie. I'm shocked too, and we're how many decades later? And no natural disposable option existed. My immediate response was to research and develop an alternative that actually respected our bodies and our planet. Well done, well said. This is a good alternative to the ones that are available on the shelves at the grocery store. Where do you actually buy these? They're available in Canada, UK, USA. These are the countries in the Americas. These countries in Asia Pacific. These countries in Europe. It actually does say the UK there on the bottom. You just can't see it very good. For the Middle East and Africa, these countries. If you're in the States, these are the options. If you click on the states that come up. Sprouts, Whole Foods, Wegmans, Fred Meyer, natural grocers. I didn't know this. And then of course your online options, Amazon, 𝐓𝐢𝐤, Vitamin Life, Thrive Market, a few options down here. And then they go a step further. After you've selected your country, it will take you all the way down and find a store. The biggest question of all, are they actually affordable? Because a lot of the natural options I know are a bit daunting when it comes to pricing. $9.52 for 16 tampons, $8.55 for 14 count maxi pads. We're coming out the gate with a winner. I did not expect that, and I am so encouraged. They have a lot of different products. They have incontinence products because we've had children, some of us. Maternity products, wipes, which are safer for baby and for postpartum mama. And then of course tampons, pads, liners. I still am not going to do this. We know now that stuff can leach into the cotton from the soil and that we are living in a dirty, dirty earth. I don't want that in my body anymore, of any brand. But if I were going to choose a brand, I would choose this. I would choose this one. This is a founder-owned brand I am so happy to support after reading all the information that is available and not being able to find any lawsuits or anything. When I searched for lawsuits, what I found were all of the ways that they speak up for women. And how often have you heard that about Procter & Gamble or Johnson & Johnson, that they're out there fighting the good fight for women? But guess who does fight for you, your health, and the environment? And by the way, bravo, Susie, bravo. And you guys, this is obviously a mission, or she would have sold it in the last 4 decades. So I feel comfortable knowing this is not going to get bought out from under me when I get attached to this brand. I feel great about getting invested in this brand. 2 thumbs up, 3 if I could, 4, 5 thumbs up. This was a very strong beginning, and I am so encouraged by what we found out about our very first one.
And welcome back to another episode of I Wish They Taught Me This in Public School But Didn't, so here I am teaching you on TikTok on a Friday morning. I'm going to preface this with you do not need to be a hormone specialist or have a PhD or any sort of certification to be able to read your labels and do your own research and become a conscious consumer. Most of this stuff is common sense, and I googled all of this information. It's out here for the public. And this post is for the queens and queens only. Here are some period care safe swaps. Go over to my Instagram to read the caption because I share my story about birth control and about all of this. And I also tag the brands. I really just want to provide resources and safe alternatives for people so they don't have to end up in the hospital with autoimmune disease and cancer and hormone imbalances and infertility. I mean, infertility as of right now is so high up on the radar, it's insane. No wonder women deal with PCOS, endometriosis, hormone imbalances, birth defects, infertility, miscarriages, and so much more. Everything you consume affects your present self and future self. Become a conscious consumer for the next generation on this planet, and make sure to vote with your dollar, because when you stop investing in these toxic brands, they will simply not invest because they're not making money off of your illness. I love you queens so much. And I felt super inspired to make this post because I actually got my moon cycle today. Remember to always read your labels and do your research before putting anything in and on your body. I love you again. Have a wonderful rest of your Friday,
or whenever you end up watching this.
𝐓𝐢𝐤, you might have heard recently that tampons have a high level of arsenic and lead in both organic and non-organic tampons. Don't freak out. You're okay. Your body's fine. I'm autistic and I have sensory issues, and I have found some really good alternatives that I've been using for over a year that I would recommend. The first thing I'd recommend are these period panties. These are really, really good if you have heavy bleeding at nighttime, and they're also really, really good if you do not have access to the toilet a bunch while you're at work or when you're just doing a bunch of things, because you don't have to change them very often, and they soak really well. And they absorb really well, and they don't feel wet after a long time. And then my personal favorite, fabric pads. I absolutely love these fabric pads. I actually got them from Amazon, but if you have the money, I would get them from Etsy. These feel just like underwear. If you can wear underwear, you can wear these. These just click right by your underwear, so you can, and then just go on with your day. And when you change them, you can just throw them in your hamper or washer. I prefer throwing them in my washer because you can wash them with towels or you can wash them with clothes. I have used a Diva cup before, but I wouldn't recommend it if you have sensitivity to smells. This might be kind of gross, but you know how like when you change your pad, you like smell it and it's really gross? When you use a Diva cup and you take out the Diva cup, all of the smells are all at once, and it's pungent, and it fills up a room, and it makes you want to die. So don't use a Diva cup if you're sensitive to smells or you can't hold your breath for very long.
The deal with reusable cloth menstrual pads is that instead of bleeding on disposable pads, you will bleed on a reusable cloth pad that's been made with a layer of topper fabric, an absorbent layer, and a waterproof layer. Because the idea of bleeding onto fabric is so unknown to a lot of people, I often get the question of whether or not people are more susceptible to infections if they use cloth pads. The answer is no. The first reason is because cloth pads are much more breathable than disposable pads. They're not made with a plasticky material, they're made with cloth. And the absorbent layer that I use, it pulls the fluid away from your skin and into the pad, and it'll dry much quicker than it would if you were wearing a disposable pad. A second reason is because cloth pads do not cause rashes. There is no plastic rubbing against your skin. Some people are very sensitive to the materials that they put in disposable products, and additionally with the adhesive, that could potentially pull against your skin and pull against your pubic hairs, making things very uncomfortable and potentially opening up some skin that could be closed, and that makes you more prone to infection. So if susceptibility to infection was something that was prohibiting you from trying cloth pads, I'll be the first to tell you that you don't have anything to worry about.
It's essential that we start being more intentional with where we're putting our dollar, seeking women-owned businesses that aren't bought out, that truly care for our well-being. I'm sure there's some male-owned businesses that care about our well-being too, but overall, start questioning what's being marketed to us and what's normalized in society if you aren't already. Because a lot of people, a lot of businesses are more focused on control, are more focused on earning money than making sure that our products are safe and good for us to use long-term. Don't even get me started on the food. I would even suggest making your own stuff if you have the time. Making your own non-toxic cleaning products, making your own fragrances, making your own candles, making your own facial stuff, makeup, soaps, of course, foods. If you have a space, considering gardening. I started making my own non-toxic perfumes this summer, made from organic essential oils that smell just as strong and divine as mainstream scents, and are healing because it has the actual elements of nature. Go ahead and treat yourself to a bottle over on my website. I highly recommend my Magnolia Serenity if you want my recommendation on my favorite scent out of my collection. Magnolias are actually more calming than lavender. It's just lavender is more well known than magnolia, but it's definitely a calming scent and a very beautiful, dainty, like I can't even describe it. It's just so good. And I plan to learn, I want to learn how to make my own cleaning products, hair products, anything that I can, because not only are a lot of these things toxic that is marketed to us, but a lot of this stuff is overpriced. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like and share it so this information can get to other ladies who need it. This channel is all about helping you to create your best life and to become your best self. And it's hard to do that when you're being poisoned. Comment down below what non-toxic brands that you'd recommend and that you use. I know a few that I'll link down in the description. If you're on your journey of creating your best life and becoming your best self, or you want to start that journey, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.